Hi, this is Bonnie Barker with BonnieBabeCrochet.com, and you have come to video number 2 of the Lisdoonvarna Shawl. Alright, well, we are going to go ahead and start with the back section. It says with our size I hook, same hook that we've been using. We are going to start with our slip knot, and it says to chain 65. So I'll go ahead and chain 5, 10. I'll go ahead and finish this chain and come right back. Okay, now that I've got my chain of 65, it's going to seem like a very small chain compared to having worked the stole with over 200 stitches the last go round. But what we're going to do, just going to single crochet in the second chain from hook, and then each chain across. Okay, I'll go ahead and work that, and I'll show you what we do after this row. Okay, now that we've come to the end of row 1, I'm going to chain 1, turn. We should have 64 single crochets, and let me show you too. Mine is just a little bit curly, and again, you don't need to worry about that because the next couple 2-3 rows should take that completely out, and it should be fine once we start doing the low front ridge. Okay, the next row, well, let me just go ahead and give you the instructions. And this is where purchasing the pattern is really going to come in handy, because I'm just going to refer you back to the rows. You're going to need to repeat rows 2 through 12 of the stole section. It is done the exact same way. It's just with a different stitch count. Your stitch count will be 64 when working the next few rows, or actually all the rows except for the woven stitch. The woven stitch will be half of that, so half of 64 is 32. So you'll have 32 woven stitches across when you get to that section. But right now we're just going to do rows 2 through 12. Row 2 is going to be doing a single crochet all the way across. And rather than lead you through all of this step by step again, what I'm going to say is go ahead. If you need more stitch support for rows 2 through 12, you can return to the first video of the stole pattern and work it the same way. It's just that you will have a smaller count. Okay, I will return with you when I finish row 12. Okay, I always wanted to put a little addendum onto what I've already told you about starting the back section. The pattern does say to chain 65. I'm going to modify it a little bit for the video series, kind of in keeping with my style of crocheting. A lot of times these patterns are text edited by people who, do an excellent job, but sometimes they have a little bit different interpretation than the original author. So I'm going to say for this video series, if you would chain 67 instead of 65, and that would mean you're going to be working over 66 stitches, and that's going to help you to do what you need to do the way I explain it in the video. So I'm going to make sure hopefully you caught the little correction at the beginning of this video. But anyway, even if you didn't, it's easy to make that up by working in the turning chain. The only place this would come into play would be right here. You could always work the last treble. If you only chain 65, you can work the last treble in the turning chain and the last double crochet in the same stitch, and that will bring your stitch count up, and it really will not make that much of a difference. But we want to make sure that our stitch count is 66 stitches. 67 is the chain, 66 stitches across, and that will get you there. All right. Okay. I actually just completed rows 1 through 11. I still need to do row 12, but let me just go ahead and clarify how many rows of woven stitch there will be. We're going to do this until all the way through row 43. So from rows 11 through row 43, we'll be working woven stitch. Just to kind of simplify this with the numbers and everything, you're going to have a total of 33 rows of the woven stitch. So once you can count 33 rows, and then after that we will work row 44, which is a repeat of row 22, but simply put, it is working 2 single crochets in between each stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that portion, and then we'll come back and talk about the next assignment. Okay, now that I've finished those 33 rows of woven stitch, let me show you what you should have. We have the arrow rows down there, low front ridges, and then we have 33 rows of the woven stitch. Okay, now after this we are going to chain one, not two, but just chain one. Let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to turn, and just like in the stole, we're going to work the row to discontinue the woven stitch simply by working 2 single crochets in the spaces between each woven stitch, just like this. Okay, we're going to do that all the way across. Okay, so you know how that goes. You've done that a time or two if you finish the stole portion. So what I'm going to do now is just give you another big assignment, which actually is not so big. If you've noticed this, the back side comes together a lot faster than the stole did. So there is one correction I need to let you know too. This is row 44, where we're working 2 single crochets in between each woven stitch, and don't forget we do 2 single crochets in the all the way across in the turning chain here. Don't forget those two. Okay, and then after that, rows 45 through 86, we are going to repeat rows 3 through 44 of the back section, not rows 2, but rows 3 through 44. Trust me, the math works out on that. So what we're going to do now is just very similar to what we did with the stole. Okay, we're going to work another, once we finish this row, we're going to work a low front ridge section, those 2 rows, the arrow rows, the single crochet, low front ridge, and then we're going to work another 33 rows of the woven stitch all the way across. Okay, and that'll take you to row 86. After that, we're going to repeat rows 3 through 10 of the stole section one more time, which is, again, the low front ridge, 2 rows of the arrow, 2 rows of the single crochet, and then we do the low front ridge rows one last time. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and complete that, and then I'll show you what I have, and then we will, after that, do the edging round. Okay, I've just finished row 94. I want to show you what we should have. You should have the beginning rows, and which include the low front ridge, the arrow, the low front ridge. We should have 33 rows of the woven stitch all the way across, and then you have in the center another low front ridge, arrow, low front ridge. Of course, we do have the the single crochet rows in there, and then another set of 33 rows of woven stitch. And of course, you do have the row to discontinue the woven stitch, and then the last set of arrows. Okay, that brings us to row 94, or we had just finished row 94. So now we need to do the perimeter round all the way around the outside of this. So it says edging round, chain 1. I'm going to go ahead and chain 1. And we're going to single crochet in each stitch across. Okay, and then we're going to chain 2 at the end. So let me go ahead and start that. We're just going to do single crochet in each stitch across till we get to the corner. And I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, I've worked all the way across in the row of single crochet. Now I've gotten to the corner. I'm going to chain 2. Now we're going to work across the end just like we did when we worked across the end of the stole. Except the numbers are going to be different. Obviously this woven stitch is much wider than on the stole by design. And so what we're going to be shooting for here, let's see, let me go ahead and get some stitch markers. I've got some stitch markers here. Now, if you don't have anything like this, no problem. You can even just use a contrasting color piece of yarn just to pull it through to just mark a place. What I'm going to do, since we're going to need to do crochet 96 stitches evenly across this edge, and it's a long edge, and that's a lot of stitches to count. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it down. We're going to take 96 and we're going to break it down into half. So half of 96 is 48. So this is the center This is the center of this piece, and so I went ahead and put a little marker there. Okay, this little marker, this little plastic thing, it can come right out. I can actually crochet with it in and then take it out afterwards. So that would be 48 stitches. Now I'm going to even go further. I'm going to break the 48 down into 20, half of 48 would be 24. So I'm going to add actually two more stitches. So that stitch is going to come in the middle of the woven stitch. Okay, so there are 17 of these little ball things here across. So half of that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I figured that the center one would be the 9th one. And I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, try to split this thing and put a little stitch marker. And when you do this, try not to, try not to pull on the yarn too much. You don't want to pull it out of shape. Okay, so I've got my stitch marker there. So this makes it a little simpler. So from one edge here all the way to the first stitch marker is going to be 24 stitches. And then from that stitch marker to the middle one is going to be another 24. So I'm going to go ahead and put another stitch marker, and this would be, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is really around, let's see, I'm going to put it right here. And if this is confusing to you, another way to find the center is just line up the 2 arrow stitches. Okay, and it is the center. So you can even do it that way. You can see that if you don't like to do a lot of math. So anyway, so I've got 3 of these stitch markers, divided the piece up into 4 pieces. Each stitch marker should have 24 single crochets in between. So let me go ahead and start on this. Go ahead and have to do that one stitch again. Okay, so I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to single crochet in the same place as the last single crochet, so I get me a nice squared off corner there. And I'm going to try to work 24 stitches in between these 2 stitch markers. I'm just going to go ahead and work this across. And remember, you may have to pull stitches out here and there and, try, a couple times to get it right. But that's okay. Do take the time to get them evenly spaced. I'm going to do the first 24 and then I'll get back to you. Okay, I do have 24 between the beginning of following the chain 2 corner to the first stitch marker. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this row. I'm going to be doing 24 stitches in between every stitch marker, and by the end of this trip across, I should have 96 stitches. Okay, I've got my 96 stitches across with 24 in between my stitch markers. Okay, now it's time to do it again. We're going to chain 2. And just like in the stole, let me get my string situated here. Just like in the stole, we're going to work in the slip stitch across. I'm going to go ahead and put my single crochet in the same place where my last one was, and then from here on out, I'm going to work in the slip stitches, the remainder of the, not the slip stitch, the chain, the foundation chain. Okay, we're going to do single crochet all the way across. And let me slow down a little bit here. If you can see this, see how this is where the first row of single crochet were placed, and then we're just going opposite of that. So if you're not sure where to put the stitch, it's the opposite of where the foundational single crochet row was. And just a little review, I like to hide the entire chain as I go through and do this round, or this row rather, which is part of a round. So let me go ahead and finish this across to the corner, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, now that I've reached the end of working the single crochets across the foundation chain, we're going to chain 2 again, and this will be the last leg of it. We will go ahead and work our 96 single crochets evenly across the other end, just like we did a couple minutes ago using our stitch markers. If you prefer to do that, you can prefer it. If you want to just guess all the way across, that's up to you. But as soon as I finish this, I will show you what to do from there. Okay. Okay, I've worked my 96 stitches across this end. I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to join with the slip stitch in the very first single crochet of this round, just like so. And then I'm going to finish off and pull it all the way through. Okay, so this ends video number 2, which demonstrates how to create the back portion for the Lisdoonvarna shawl. Okay, so go on to video number 3 and we will put the back to the stole. Okay, God bless. Bye-bye.